10.
Are y'all twins?
Nah, we cousins.
Hey. What's going on?
Gang, gang. Big Diesel.
And I'm Coach.
We're all sinners.
We are. We're all sinners, saved by grace.
That part.
Well, I can't say everybody, but you know. But we.
So we basically, I should have said it like we cousins. We cousins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cousins.
Indeed.
Anywho, so today we are talking about
What are we talking about today?
sinners on Resurrection Sunday.
Yes. Well, by the time you see this, it'll be post Resurrection Sunday, but
And
the
what's weird is it was falling on March, and then they switched it
oh, you're talking about for the movie?
for the movie.
Yeah, I think they switched with Mickey 17, or I think it was either that or another movie. Yeah.
So it's quite interesting when we were going to go see this. I'm like, dang, it's
Good Friday.
Good.
Yeah.
kind of appropriate.
Kind of. Some other folks have different thoughts about that, but you know.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. So sinners. This is Ryan Coogler's.
It's his fifth film.
Fifth film.
Yep.
Fifth film.
Yep.
Um.
It is his first following Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
So this is his first film that he's had since I think 2022.
So first off, we will get into spoilers in the very end.
Yep.
But right now we'll just do a plain review.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And there is a mid-credit and post-credit, so stay through the whole thing.
Yep. Stay through.
It's very important that you do.
Yes. Absolutely.
And if you've only seen the first trailer or not any of the trailers, I feel like you're good.
Yes.
The most blind the better, and don't see the second one. I think for some reason Warner Brothers did show too much, but when I saw like other things that maybe Ryan Coogler kind of was doing for like behind the scenes, they still kind of showed the certain spoilery of the movie, and I feel like you kind of want to go in this as blind as possible.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I would also agree. I remember I sent you the second trailer, and I probably shouldn't have because I said you probably don't want to watch it because I said it gives away too much. And of course you watched it.
And I watched it anyways. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with that said,
thanks for putting me on blast, by the way.
Well, I kind of put myself on blast because I was the one who sent it, so I gave you the temptation to send. See what I did there?
Hey, I see what you did there.
But yes, yeah, I would say go in as blind as you can. I'm sure if you've heard of the movie by now, if you're watching this, you probably know at least a little something. But
we're gonna try to keep it as less as possible until our spoiler review.
Yes, we will try not to spoil the movie.
Even if you probably already know, or most people probably already know, we'll probably kind of leave that vague. Just because we just don't know who's seen it, who didn't.
Yeah, but we'll give a general non-spoiler review at the top.
Exactly. So this stars Michael B. Jordan and Michael C. Jordan.
Yeah, it's basically a running joke. But yeah. So yes, it is Michael B. Jordan.
It's not funny when you explain it.
I know.
You know.
Just scratch that. It's two Michael B's playing.
Two Michael B's playing twins. Stars Haley Steinfeld.
Yep.
No, I got it.
Delroy Lindo. Other people. A lot of people, honestly. It's got a
cast. It's got a cast. Delroy Limbo,
Lindo, I already said that.
Lindo, Lee Jun Lee, um, Omar Benson Miller,
Yes.
Wunmi Masaku.
Yep.
She was the TVA agent in Loki.
She was. She was also. She's been in a lot of things. She was also in Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
I think she was in a DC project as well. Yeah, she's been in a lot of things.
Jamie Lawson as well. Jack O'Connell, who plays the antagonist, and my boy Miles Catton.
Yes.
We'll get to all of them separately in a minute, but we just wanted to name the cast.
Yep. Just wanted to.
Name the. It's pretty star studded.
Yes, it is pretty star-studded. A lot of great actors. I can't honestly. I don't think there was one weak performance in the whole thing.
Right.
I think everybody brought their A game. You could definitely tell there was a lot of effort, time, and consideration with each of the roles.
So let's start off with what we liked about the film.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the positives. Music is incredible.
Yes, I agree.
Music, I was like bumping and tapping my feet, and I was like, man, the soundtrack be going hard.
Yes. Yes.
Going crazy.
Yes.
So that's one of the benefits. It mixes a lot of. There's like one sequence, and I'm not gonna give too much away. That's like, it kind of feels like a one shot, but I think it was multiple takes.
Mm-hmm.
But it had like a lot of symbolism in it.
Yes.
That you could probably break down in a whole video.
Yeah, you
by
could.
itself.
Yeah, you could definitely make a whole explainer video for that one scene alone, that one sequence.
Yeah.
You could talk about the different either influences and different visual things that were going on, musical things that were also going on, without saying too much.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that the music as a whole and with that particular part was very integral into the story. Whereas like a lot of movies have great music and a lot fire soundtracks and a great score, but with this movie, the music was part of the story as well.
Yeah, it's very influential. Definitely like our eyes and ears, who is Sammy, played by Miles, is he's a son of the preacher's kid. His father wants him to kind of be in the church with him, which I think we all can relate to that. But he kind of aspires to be something more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, him himself, he's definitely integral to music. So he's just balancing: do I want to be like my father, or do I want to, start my own legacy?
Yeah.
And I think that's everybody can relate to that.
Yep.
You got Michael B. I make the jokes, but in all seriousness, you can really if later on down the line, if I realized that this wasn't just Michael B. Jordan, but somebody he actually did have a long lost twin, and they were playing alongside each other and had us all fooled, I would have believed it, because they play so well together. Even he was telling in interviews how he went to a twin.
They had twin consultants that they hired onto the film that Ryan Coogler knew from for years, and he basically would observe them. And there was one part where they were sitting together, and Coogler, he noticed it, and he asked them do y'all do that for me, or is that for y'all, basically? Because are y'all always just next to each other? But they said that they do it for him because it makes people more comfortable. If they were separated, and then it would kind of trip people out. It's wait, I just saw you here. Oh no, I just saw you over here. So it puts people more at ease when they're right next to each other.
That's deep. There are times where they do separate the two,
Mm-hmm.
but they do are on screen together, passing stuff around, you know, moving around each other. So you can definitely like believe that it was actually like he definitely did have a twin. So
Yeah.
um, what are they named? Stacks and Smoke.
Yeah. Smoke and Stack. Yep.
And the whole time I didn't know which one was Stacks and which one was Smokes, even though they all do. You can tell them apart, but you don't know which one's like is the guy in the red
Yeah.
supposed to be Stacks and the one in the blue supposed to be Smokes, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think it did that really well. Um, so we got Haley Steinfeld, of course, who I think this is her best role that I've seen her in.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a different performance from Haley Steinfeld, and you know, I respect it. I respect it. This, I hope she just kind of, you know, does more kind of stuff like this. Now I was talking to somebody because a lot of people are building this as a horror flick. Um, there are horror elements, and I was talking to somebody, and they were like, I saw the trailer, and I think I'd be a lot scary. And even though wasn't really scared in a lot of stuff, and I tend to be very, I don't like horror, and I don't like being scared like that. To each his own. Like, other people, I was watching and I was like, yeah, this might trigger some people. So, just go in there. It's a very hard R, which people saying not just for the horror elements,
Yeah.
but there's also a lot of vulgarity and a lot of sexual stuff going on. So, do that with what you will.
Yes. Yes. Definitely do that with what you will.
But yeah, Haley Steinfeld killed it.
Yeah.
Miles Cannon. I'm sorry. He and I was looking. I didn't know this was his first acting debut.
Yeah. This was his first film. I didn't know that either. Now I don't even think I had heard of him until literally going into the movie. Because of course you see him in the trailer, but I didn't realize that this was literally his first film. Like I just assumed that he's probably been in some other projects, some smaller things.
Right.
This is literally
His first project,
film.
and he killed it.
Yeah.
He killed it, and he's around like goats, like people who. So the fact that he is the standout of all these goats
Yeah.
in one film
Right.
kind of speaks to his talent. So I hope to see him in more stuff. His music that he was singing, oh my gosh, he has a voice on him that is crazy. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy talented. Yeah, and it's kind of like one of those situations where I feel like he was made for that role.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like you couldn't really picture anybody else for that. Like where he had all of the in terms of acting wise, in terms of playing wise, in terms of singing, the voice, just I feel like everything was just kind of it just kind of fit. He just fit perfectly for that. So, yeah.
So Lee Jun Lee, she was the Margot Robbie movie that I was talking about. It was Babylon with
yes.
Yes.
Babylon.
So she was in a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not gonna go into everything, but yeah, that's what I remember her for. She did great.
Yes.
She did very well. She had a husband in the thing, and I felt like they both did great. You had Omar Benson, who is Cornbread. I feel like they used him for some comic relief.
Yes.
And he did that very well. Wunmi Masaku, she did great.
Yep.
Her character is very integral. She's like a voodoo type person,
Yes.
and they definitely use her very well to where she has to explain how certain things work. Without her, they probably wouldn't have made it.
Spoiler alert.
But, oh,
So we don't know who they is.
true.
True. But yes, her character, very, very important to the story.
Actually, it's not really spoilers.
Yeah. Character Annie, important. Yeah, she is has a lot of like, I guess, hoodoo knowledge. There is some distinctions between hoodoo and voodoo. I'm not very privy to that. I know some of y'all might be. But yeah, she is knowledgeable about like vampire lore to an extent, and also she was calling certain people I think hates. I want to say,
Yeah.
which I'm not too privy to, but there are distinctions between them within the film that I'm not sure if they go into that much detail about, but she, it's kind of like they kind of fill you in. It is like they fill the characters in, but we as the audience, most people are already familiar with vampires, whereas most of the characters
trying
don't.
not to.
Oh my bad.
We both messed up. It's all. Yeah. So now you know it's a vampire. Yeah. But I feel like it's not a vampire. I feel like people who like vampires would probably be, not that it's a bad film, but I wouldn't market it. It's a different kind of film that
Yes.
deals with deeper issues. It just has vampires in it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call it vampire.
Yes. There are horror elements. There are some vampiric creatures. It definitely follows, you know,
The tropes.
the tropes exactly. The rules, the tropes of vampire lore, and you'll definitely see that if you haven't already seen the movie. You'll see how that comes into play with different people's suspicions and all the things.
So, and then Jack O'Connell, I feel like does the he was Irish in the film.
Yes, so he is Irish, and that is important because historically, especially in the early, 1900s, late 1800s, there were a lot of Irish immigrants that came to America, but they were discriminated against where they came from, but also here in America as well. Like were very low as far as like socially, where they weren't even considered amongst like white people. They were considered minorities here. So it's interesting that seeing that dynamic play out between him as the essentially the villain, and then his dynamic with the rest of the characters. So
And so it's not really a negative, but this is, I mean, he's a goat in and of itself. Delroy Lindo, I feel like he did great on the film.
mm-hmm.
I feel like they didn't use him to his potential, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like he is definitely the comic relief, if you could say so. But I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like they used him in a sense to where it didn't need, in my opinion, the humor. I feel like it took away from the tension, and if it just takes it away, and there's a certain scene where I feel like they were going for something, and because you're so used to him being comic relief, for me it didn't hit the same.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't hit like I thought it was going. What I thought it needed, they wanted out of it.
Yeah.
So I felt like he could have been used in different parts. It's the same thing I have a problem with David Harbour, even though I love him as an actor. But in Thunderbolts and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the way they use Red Guardian, they use it in the same way where it takes away. Yes, he's comic relief, but it takes away from a very important thing that I feel like it needs to be serious. It doesn't need that humor, and it takes away from that serious role that you're trying to get from the certain characters. It takes away, in my opinion. But
yeah, we
that,
talked about that.
yeah,
And I think I definitely see that point. I would say for that particular part, um, it worked for me because um, there are times where I'm not sure if he's being serious or not, and I think within the context of that with that scene, it's like he's acting a little funny, and I don't know if that's just because he's being humorous or if there's actually something really going on with him, and so even though I was a little confused at first, I wasn't confused to the point where it's like, oh, it took me out of the story. It was like, okay, he's just whatever.
yeah.
So,
Because for me, it was like, oh yeah, it's just gonna. He's just using this for humor. So I didn't buy into the fact that they were trying to use it a little bit like a okey doke.
yeah,
You know.
and maybe that's and maybe that'd be I think that would be interesting, an interesting question to ask Ryan Coogler as a writer and a director, like what his intentions were within certain moments of the film, or if he's just somebody that's like, no, I'm gonna just let that be more subjective.
Right.
But I would like to ask him about certain parts, like what was in your mindset when you made certain decisions, not even for that particular scene or that part, but just like why did you have this character do this, and then like okay, why did you have these characters do this when they could have done something else? Like, I'm always interested in knowing like why people make certain decisions.
Speaking of which, there is an indigenous group of characters that show up for like one part of the film,
Yes.
and they're never seen on again.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
And
the
it's,
rest of the film.
yeah, I remember somebody pointed that out, and it's weird. I didn't think like at the time where they showed up, I was thinking they were going to show up later. But once we kind of got later into the movie, I didn't really think about them again.
Because you
Yeah.
didn't need them really,
Yeah.
but it kind of like, why did you put them in there in the first place? And then you're kind of trying to wonder. You're also wondering, like where did the villain come from? Remy or whatever his name was.
Mhm.
Yeah, where did he come from? And why? I don't know. There are certain things. There's also like dialect, where it's their accents, it's their fast talking, where you gotta watch it again. I feel
Yeah.
like I missed certain things in the first viewing that I feel like if I watched it again, I'd probably understand more. But this is a very deep film. I understand there's like very symbolic things, and what I like that because there can be many interpretations, and I hope Ryan Coogler just doesn't say, "Oh yeah, that's right," or "Yeah, this is right. That's what I was trying to go for."
Yeah.
Just kind of leave it vague for the audience, just and allow people to just kind of pick apart and have their own theories.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is good when you have a director that doesn't try to spoon feed you everything and make everything like either cookie cutter, just make everything clear because I think it makes it more interesting and like the conversations around the film better when you have certain things that are open to interpretation, because if everything was just super black and white, then you're not going to have the story's not going to be as interesting, and then the discussions around it aren't going to be as interesting. So I would agree there. Is there
But just to get into the story, so Smoke and Stack are basically twins. Sammy is their cousin, and they're basically coming from Chicago. They were in the military.
yes.
Um, Dad was in the military, and there's certain backstories. So they're coming down from Chicago
Mm-hmm.
to try to start this juke joint.
Yeah.
To make their money, and then that's when kind of they run into certain people
Yeah.
um,
So
to kind of set up to this party, and they're building out the world,
yeah.
and then you're not introduced to the Remy and his friends until like maybe later on in the second half.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah. Again, going off of that. Yeah. Michael B. So Smoke and Stack. You know, they come back into town, and it's funny. Like, did we talk about the fact that the movie all takes place basically over one day? I don't know if we
No,
mentioned that.
no, we didn't, and it's
Oh.
in the 1930s.
Yes, 1932 to be exact. I think like
In
October.
Mississippi, but it
Mississippi.
was shot in New Orleans.
Yeah, so shot in New Orleans, probably for the I think tax breaks or something. But yes, set in Mississippi. So set in the deep South. Delta blues is very prevalent. Um, so yeah, Smoke and Stack. They're these two gangsters. They spent 7 years in Chicago, and when they come back into town, everybody knows of their, history, of their reputation. There's one scene where even this one guy, he's like, he knows he done something he shouldn't be doing, and then
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, they
That was
definitely
a
have.
wild scene.
Yeah, it was. They
Wild
definitely
scene, yeah.
they definitely have this reputation. They're known for, what they've been doing, and
And you can see Sammy kind of looks up to him.
yeah,
And I've been that kind of cousin where I looked up to my older cousin,
yeah,
and you kind of have this reverence towards them. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like they do, because they're grown, they can do
Yeah.
whatever they want.
yeah,
So when you ride along, it's like your parents are probably like, I don't think you should roll with them, but you just
Yeah.
kind of like, man, they're my cousin,
Yeah.
you know.
and
So
and it's funny with Sammy as well. Like when uh, he ran into Haley Steinfeld's character,
Yep.
she still sees him as like a little kid. A lot of people
Yep.
still see him as a little kid because I forget how old he is in the story, but he's probably barely 18 at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's still seen as this little kid, even though he's trying to be grown and wants to be with his older cousins, and you can see that it's like he wants to be in this world, playing music, being a part of the culture rather than being with his dad who's the preacher, who's a preacher. So it's I think there's such an interesting tension in the movie, even before you get to what happens later on, where it's like you have this character who wants to be one way, who wants to play his music, but it's like they just dad wants you to not do music. That's the devil's work in his mind. So,
even there's like certain things where you got some of the cousins that was like, nah, I'm trying to protect you,
yeah,
and I don't want you going down this road.
mhm,
And it's kind of it has a rift or a division towards them in sort of ways.
yeah,
And to just see, because again it's still Michael B, but he's playing two different characters.
mhm,
So to see the distinguishing traits, and also to see him play certain people play off of the different twins is
Yes.
interesting as well.
yes, that was a good point. I thought about earlier, like when you see them together, there's one dynamic, but when you see them apart, like where Stack is with Mary, who's Haley Steinfeld's character, you see their dynamic and more of their history comes about. And then when you see Smoke with Annie, yeah, when you see those two together, you see their history, play out and things revealed with them as well. And it's really interesting seeing the dynamic, because although they are identical twins, there are differences between them, but they're they're not complete opposites. And I think that's what's really interesting, where it's not like, oh, their accents are super different. There are like subtle differences, but it's not like, oh yeah, this one his voice is really deep, and this one his voice is a lot higher, or this one is like, really nice, and this other one is really mean. They're both gangsters, and you can definitely see that.
Yeah.
But
I think one of them's more calculated, and the other is more kind of. There was a certain thing to where it was a lot of tension with the villain of the movie, and you got one of them that's like, hey, because he's playing his little banjo. I'm like, all right, but the other one is still just kind of like, yeah, what do you want? Like, I don't know if I trust it. So it's quite interesting.
Yes.
Quite interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like you can do a whole YouTube video on how he did these two characters.
Yes. And I think I mentioned before that they hired like a stand-in for Michael B. Jordan. So if he was playing one twin, then if he's in the scene, if they're both in the scene together, then that the body double or the acting double would be playing the other one. So he'd have somebody to go off of in those scenes. So I think it's pretty interesting. I would definitely want to see like behind the scenes. I feel like this would be a very cool behind the scenes thing to see like on a DVD or docuseries or something like that.
So speaking of which, now you brought it up. Yes, Friday we saw this in IMAX.
Yes.
Got this poster from there.
Yep.
And we came out of the movie theater and these people were wanting to take a picture, and one of the girls supposedly said she was Haley Steinfeld's body double.
Stunt double.
Stunt double.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite interesting if that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know for sure because they said it at first when we were standing there, but then when we were about to
I didn't believe it.
You didn't believe it. I just kind of took it as I was like, I mean, they could be lying, but it's like either they were joking or they just said that just to, I don't know.
We won't know.
Yeah,
but,
we won't know.
But hopefully they were telling the truth.
Yeah.
It would have been a good experience. But
yeah.
I say all that to say, it was shot with IMAX cameras.
Yes. Yeah, it was shot.
And even when we were getting the tickets were selling out.
They were.
Like hotcakes.
They were selling like.
So we didn't get the best seats, but they were still good seats.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kind of shot it in a way to where, can you go into like the?
Yeah, so he shot it with IMAX cameras, and it was a very large format. He said, Ryan Coogler, he said he spoke to Christopher Nolan because that's how he shoots a lot of his films with IMAX cameras, and he was kind of like a mentor for him throughout the whole process. Yeah, it was shot, I think, with 2 different types of cameras, and so if you see it in IMAX, during like some more of the intense scenes, the aspect ratio will change where it'll be like widescreen at first, and then it'll become not as wide, and you'll be able to see the entire frame. So I think that's pretty cool because during the movie I was definitely paying attention to that, but I was wondering if that was something only in IMAX or if that was in like some of the standard formats as well. But I think that was just
in IMAX because he was definitely saying if you want the full experience, you got to see this in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And that was the point. Point is, see this in theaters, definitely.
Yeah, see it in theaters.
Start seeing these movies in theaters.
Yes.
Because that takes away from the experience. I was watching a video, and it just doesn't. It's not the same watching something on streaming.
It's not.
It's not. You can pause it. If you don't like it, you can turn it off and probably never pick it up again. Mm-hmm. If you're disinterested. But in the movie, you kind of stuck.
You are stuck.
You are stuck. You can get out if you want to and walk away and not come back. But for the most part, you pay your ticket, you sit there, You can't pause it. You can't rewind it if you miss something. So it's kind of like go see the movies in these theaters, and then if you know get it on, then watch it on streaming. But
Yeah.
I say if you don't support it in the theaters, that that is going to go away. The experience is going to go away, just like Blockbuster went away and Redbox and stuff like that. So yeah, see this film in the theaters, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I agree.
I didn't realize the difference. This was my first IMAX film that I remember. Maybe I saw one back in the day, but I don't remember.
Mhm.
But yeah, I didn't see the difference. So maybe in the second watch,
Yeah.
I'll see the difference. But
Mhm.
all in all, we kind of did a deep dive into this film. But all in all, what'd you feel about the film?
Like all in all, like
Yeah, just your brief overview before we get into spoilers.
okay. So yes, before I say that, I just want to say I agree as far as see these movies and the films, especially this one, with it being an original movie.
Mhm.
First of all, like it's not based on any previous IP. It's a fully original story, original characters. So we need more movies like this because Hollywood, they look very closely at box office numbers.
Exactly.
The numbers don't lie. So we can't say we want more original movies and then when we get them, we're not going to see them. Again, if horror isn't your genre, or even if it's not strict horror, I get that's not. If it's just something you don't feel comfortable with, because I know not everybody's gonna feel comfortable with blood and stuff like that. Like I get that, but I'm just saying, in general, we got to start supporting more original movies. Now, as far as
Films in general,
yeah,
you know, I'm definitely against, you know, trying to, you know, stream it before I see it or like judging it just based off of the trailer or what I think it's gonna be. Just go see the film. I don't care what the critic says. I don't care what the trailer looks like. I might actually like it if I go see it. So don't bootleg it. Don't none of that. Just you know, try to support these films because that's what they look for. And if nobody is coming to see these films, they're not going to make them anymore. So you know, it's kind of like voting, you know, in that sense. But
yeah. So thoughts, overall thoughts, you know, great music, great soundtrack. We were listening to that earlier.
oh yeah,
Of course, the cinematography, beautiful. It wasn't like like some people or some movies just have like just beautiful shots just for the sake of it. Where I feel like everything they showed you was important.
Yep.
They didn't. I don't think they wasted any time. They definitely did a lot of like setup, but I think the setup was important. Like if you just went straight into all the action, then you wouldn't have connected as much with the characters.
And I know a lot of people might say the first half was slow. I didn't feel that way.
Me neither. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was slow either.
I've been to certain films where it does kind of drag on. You don't
Yeah.
really feel it. It's just you got to do the setup. I think we're so used to seeing these films that have so much action that it desynthesizes our viewing that when it doesn't have a lot of action, we feel like it's slow.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they got to set these characters up so you know what's going on.
Okay.
And I think that kind of builds into, you know, I think just shot by shot, this was just Ryan Coogler has a gift to where structurally his films are very balanced to where it does the great build up
Yes.
to the last climactic scene
Yes.
to where everything, whether it's slow or not, at the end of the movie you're just like, oh yeah, that was worth it. You know, it's the right amount of build that you need for that movie going experience.
Yes, couldn't agree more. He's very definitely very knowledgeable of like film history. If you've seen different interviews, he'll talk about a lot of the influences in this film, but even just the films that he's seen growing up, where he he's very into a wide range of films in different genres, and I think you can see that play out in this movie. Like he said, this is his most personal film, which is funny because I was like, oh, a film with vampires or like a horror film. But he also said horror is a genre that he really enjoys, and people didn't even know that about him. So I think he has a lot of layers to him that people may have not known because they've known him for what he's done so far. And I think that's another thing why it's important to give people chances to branch out and do different things, especially when they are so talented and they've already proven themselves in the past.
Let,
Um,
let's talk about this. Most people, like maybe 90% of people, probably know him off of Black Panther, then maybe the Creed movies,
yeah,
and then probably Fruitvale Station at the very bottom.
yeah,
I feel like this blows out Black Panther, this blows out Creed, and I'm not trying to overhype it. I feel like this is his best work I've seen him.
you know what, DJ? I agree. I agree. Yes, I would agree.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Yeah. As because I have seen all of his films so far, including Fruitvale Station. For me, it's harder. It's hardest to rank Fruitvale because it's such a like it's a true story, but it's also in a sort of similar way. It's very different from. It is a lot different. It's very different from Sinners, but um, it also takes place in one day. Very very different. So if you go into this expecting it to look like Fruitvale, if you expect Fruitvale looking like this, it's not going to be the same at all. But that is something that I thought about, the fact that both of those stories are very contained, but they're still very different. So, um, but I would say Fruitvale definitely I think it showed his promise as a filmmaker, but it's kind of difficult to rank amongst the other ones because it's based off of a true event, which was it was a tragic event, but it was a true event, but it also showed, you know, Ryan Coogler's ability as a director, Michael B. Jordan's, ability as an actor. He was already like pretty well known before Fruitvale, but I feel like Fruitvale kind of maybe reintroduced him to a lot of people as an adult because he'd been acting since he was a kid. But I digress. But I would say Sinners to me as of right now probably his best work to date.
And so, in my opinion, I think cinematography A plus. Beautiful set pieces A plus. Acting performances A plus. Dual twin roles A plus. Just across the board. Um, definitely like Haley Steinfeld. This is nothing like you ever seen Haley Steinfeld. Just her
Yeah.
movements, her acting prowess, everything. Michael B. Him playing dual roles, so different but still like the same actors. So good. The comedic timing A plus as well. I think all the supporting characters play a critical role in everything. I think everybody has their part. I think all around, you know, I think this is a great film.
Yeah.
It's fire.
Yeah. Question. And I know. Well, I had a couple questions, but um, who would you? Uh, I guess if they were doing uh, the Oscars, who do you think should be nominated, or like for what specific roles do you think like, oh yeah, I think this actor deserves. I think they deserve it for writing or the cinematography or like what do you feel like deserves the like certain nominations.
I'm gonna pull my Oprah.
Okay.
You get an Oscar. You get an Oscar. You get an Oscar. Everybody get no. No.
You get an Oscar.
I'll say this because I'm just gonna throw it out of left field
Yeah.
because I feel like everybody's gonna say Haley Steinfeld, Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan. Those are obvious.
Yeah.
Standout Sammy.
Give it to my boy Sammy Miles.
Standout Sammy. I'm sorry.
Give it.
I loved him in this from beginning to end. He was my favorite character of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was his first role
Mm-hmm.
says a lot about this kid.
Yes.
I want to see more with him. So give me more, man.
Yes.
Give me more. How about you?
Oh man, I couldn't agree more. Give that man Sammy a Oscar. They need more awards for first time actors or like when it's like somebody's
That's good. Yeah.
breakout performance. I feel like they need awards specifically for them because I feel like they're often overlooked because it's like, oh, that's his first role. We'll give it to him later down the line. Where it's like, nah, I feel like
He deserves his flowers. Give him his
Yeah.
flowers, man.
Yeah.
Of course, Michael B's gonna get it. You know,
Yeah,
I feel
maybe.
like Haley's probably gonna get it, and Ryan Coogler. I wouldn't be surprised if either or all three of those get kind of a supporting award or
Yeah.
anything, depending on what the award
Yeah.
ceremony is. But
Mhm.
give Sammy something.
Yeah.
Give Sammy something.
I hope so.
Also the Ludwig.
Ludwig Göransson. So yes, he is the composer for the score. He's already. That's the thing is he's actually very accomplished already. He did Black Panther. I think Wakanda Forever as well. He's worked with Ryan Coogler multiple times because they knew each other since college, and he's told the story of how they even met. It was like through I think Ludwig was like living with the fraternity, and they basically were like kicked off for doing something they shouldn't have been doing, and then he just happened to meet Ryan Coogler, and he asked him like, "Oh, you make music or you compose or something?" And he lied at first, and then found out, oh, he actually does do music, and then they kind of hit it off, and the rest is history. So
Crazy.
yeah, crazy, right?
The guy that plays the villain. There was one scene where he had musical performance.
Yeah.
Probably my best song, my favorite song on there.
Yeah.
He was even doing some dance
the
numbers.
Irish jig.
They
They
were getting it on,
They
and
were.
like there were certain sequences where it was like a concert.
It really was. They looked like they were having a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. Just with the dance numbers.
Yeah.
And just that there's a one shot that's just going through everything. Oh my gosh, I love.
Yeah,
But anyways, 5 out of 5, man.
Yeah, 5. I was going 6 out of. I'm kidding. 5 out of 5. But so I know we didn't get too deep into spoilers, but yeah, but I had a question.
Before we get to the spoilers, yeah.
Before we get to the spoilers, because there's some people that are gonna, want to know. Because I saw somebody ask this question, who's actually a pastor. He was like, "Hey, is it okay if I go see Sinners?" Or like I guess he was feeling he wasn't sure based on the subject matter, and I was like, I mean, I didn't have an answer, but I was, I mean, I probably do, but I want to get your thoughts first before I share.
So, I think there's definitely a lot of symbolism.
Yeah.
That us as Christians would get.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, somebody who didn't know the Bible, kind of put the twins into Esau and Jacob.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, And I was like, okay, yeah. I can see that. I can see. So there's definitely symbolisms. Point blank, it is very provocative. It's very sexual
Yes.
stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of guts. But
Yeah.
take that away, um, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff to get from it as well.
Yes.
So I feel like it depends on your, what do you call it, convictions.
Appetite, convictions. I was gonna say that. Yeah, convictions.
But
Good.
I know a lot of people are like will use that. It depends on your convictions in certain ways where I don't feel like it applies.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, I could go to the strip club just depending on you know my convictions or whatever.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't really work like that. But with this, I feel like it does. It
Yeah.
it definitely
Yeah.
explains that
Yeah.
there's no nudity. There's sexual uh, scenes in there, but you're not really seeing any nudity. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
like that. But I feel like there's a lot to get from this
Yeah.
that even you as a Christian, I don't feel like it would taint you in any kind of way.
Yes. Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. There's some good, some points there. Yeah, I would say going off of that, um, I would say with the whole personal convictions things, that was something that was a thought in my head because, like, of course, people can say that. People honestly may say that they may say that too liberally with anything, but I feel like in this case,
yeah.
like you kind of have to look at it from the standpoint of um, like not everything is going to affect everyone in the same way, and so like let's say somebody has had some I would say some certain things may be triggering for certain people where
Yeah.
it's like even if there wasn't explicit nudity it
Yeah.
could still be a lot for somebody who has experienced certain things in the past or has dealt with certain things or
Yeah.
is even going through certain things right now where that can be like something for them that can lead them a certain way. So I would say for them, if you feel like you shouldn't watch it, you shouldn't watch it. But I wouldn't say it's like for that same person for this movie, they'd be like, oh yeah, Christians, y'all shouldn't watch this at all. It's got demonic stuff. I feel like there can be a real slippery slope where like any type of movie where there's any amount of evil, then you can say, oh yeah, Christians shouldn't watch that. But it's like, well, with any sort of good versus evil conflict, I mean, obviously there's going to be a level of evil in there, especially within, fantasy stories, action stories, even sci-fi. So I think at the end of the day, you have to be, I think we have to be able to watch things critically rather than just saying, oh, this movie is promoting sin or this thing is promoting this thing. And even if you feel like you have a different perspective than the filmmaker, I feel like it can still promote valuable conversations with people in your life to say like, hey, they did this in the movie, but I feel like, I don't necessarily agree with that. Versus like just not watching the movie at all, and then you may never even have the conversation with somebody who may have a different perspective. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to watch it, then don't watch it. But that's kind of my take. I know you can go real deep with that
Right.
conversation, especially if you look at different like specifics within the movie.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to talk about too much of that before we get into the spoilery.
So all in all, I guess the summary is go see this film. We give it a 5 out of 5. So our Flick Filter's stamp of approval. Go
Damn.
go see this film in theaters as much as you possibly can before it's on streaming.
It's out. Yes, because and there's one more thing. It's only in IMAX for 2 weeks before Thunderbolts comes out because they'll be taking the IMAX theaters after that. So
We're not seeing that in IMAX, right?
probably not. It's gonna be tough. That and I don't even know if that was shot with IMAX cameras, so I don't know if it even will, how much it'll change. I'm sure it'll look good in IMAX because I saw the trailer yesterday. It looked pretty good, so I think it'll be good. But
We'll see.
we'll see.
But anywho, we are going to get into the spoiler. Spoilers. Spoiler. You've been warned.
You've been warned. 5.
Did you say warned?
I did say warned. I was gonna see if you caught that.
I did. Did you do that on purpose?
I did not do that on purpose.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
Anywho, now we're gonna get into the spoilers. So how do we start this out? Hopefully by now you're not still watching if you don't want to know the spoilers, because we're gonna get into it.
Yeah. All right. So, people got. All right, the end.
That's how we started it out.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, as he spoiled already, it is a vampire movie.
Surprise.
I was trying to leave that out. And what's crazy is like that everybody was advertising it as a vampire movie.
Yeah.
So already, before even the first trailer came out, people knew it was supposed to be a vampire movie.
Yeah.
Then the first trailer came out, and it wasn't really revealing any vampires, which I thought is good.
Yes.
And here's my theory. I don't think people need multiple trailers.
I agree.
You either see the first trailer and that alone should be like, oh yeah,
I'm gonna see the movie.
I'm either see the movie or I don't. We don't need to waste money on multiple trailers.
Yep.
When there's already a certain amount of time. I get it. You're trying to make sure that everybody knows about it.
Right.
And trying to get, marketing and all that stuff. But
yep.
I feel like the problems people have is they put too much in the trailer, and you either see the whole movie or you see parts of the film that that probably would have been great if you didn't know about it. But like Haley Steinfeld being a vampire.
Yes.
And one of the twins being a vampire. Those were both spoiled in the second trailer.
Yes.
But it wasn't as cut and dry as they thought. So it was a little swerve on it.
Yes, so I think and trailers do this thing all the time where they will almost manipulate in a way where it's like it'll show you certain scenes or certain shots from the film, but you don't have the context. So even with that, when you see that one of the twins have been turned, you don't know which one. You don't know which one, but also you don't know like the circumstance in terms of like, okay, how he got that way.
Was he always a vampire from the beginning? Same thing with Haley.
With Haley, like was she? Yeah, exactly.
Especially because they both were entwined.
Yes, you didn't know. Especially with Haley because
Haley comes in just angry.
Yeah, much. She's already upset with
one of them.
With Stack, and you can tell like, oh, they've got some history, and so as the audience viewer, you're like, I wonder what's up with her. Whereas like throughout the whole movie, up until she actually does get turned, it's like, oh yeah, is she like a double agent or something? And then you find out, I was like, no, she really wasn't.
She really wasn't, yeah.
And I think that it is interesting in a way because you do see that, okay, at some point she is a vampire from the trailer, but you're waiting up until that point to see exactly how it happens. So from one standpoint, it does give you too much, but then it kind of is like a misdirect So
Yeah.
I do wonder if that was intentional on Ryan Coogler, because I know a lot of times companies outside of the actual production company will end up making the trailers, and then but of course I would say like Ryan Coogler and his crew, they have to approve of it, but um, yeah, I do want to know exactly what that process looks like, because if I'm a director, I want to be like, hey, I don't want people knowing that it's going to ruin the thing. But it's also it's like you also want to give them enough to invest and get them to get into the seats. So it's a difficult thing you have to balance in terms of marketing.
I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room. The whites. Where there's a lot of Ku Klux Klan. There's a lot of the whites are the vampires. The whites are the it's very on your nose type type uh, deal. Which I mean, I'm sure Ryan had his reasons, but
Yeah.
it was kind of like on a little too on the nose for me. And even with Haley Steinfeld being the double agent, she's kind of like mixed already. Was like, and even that part was kind of integrated into the film in
Yeah.
her character.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, of course, the whites are coming against. I feel like it's an overused trope that is used by black directors a little too much. I get it, but we don't need to see that in every black film. But I digress. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things to where um, you start to see how when the bad guy comes in, how he infects the Ku Klux Klan members, and then of course, then they show up a little bit later as the juke joint comes out. Um, there's also some Indian vampire hunters,
Yes.
which show up and then never show up again.
Right.
Um, so that was quite interesting. I thought they were going to show up, like you said, but no.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, it is interesting that they did show them very briefly, and I think that also goes into like Ryan's idea of like, okay, was he trying to set this up to then have a totally different story with them later on? Like, is he going to do like a almost like a spin-off thing, a spin-off story or series with them? Who knows? Because he seems to be invested with this, especially with him, getting the IP rights back after 25 years. He got a deal so that he would get the right. He and his family would get the rights back. So it seems like it's something that he definitely wants to invest in the future, or at least have like a legacy for his family, as far as this world that he's created. So um, it is interesting to see like what the future will be within this world. Like if this is going to be just a one-off story, which it very well can be. It doesn't need necessarily.
I feel like
But
so Sammy is the one that these villains are because of the his musical prowess, and I don't know what about that was like kind of like symbolic. I feel like there's a lot of symbolism in here to where I didn't quite understand, especially that one when the music starts coming, and then it just kind of that whole scene to where I know you saw a guitar at first.
Yes.
And then I saw the turntable.
Yes.
And it was just like I don't know what he meant by that scene.
Okay, I my theory.
What's your theory?
So I'm watching the scene, right? Watching it, we're kind of in the middle. We're like, they're having their fun, and I'm noticing the sound kind of changing a little bit from just blues. It's getting almost it's getting kind of like this funk, and then it's like
It's gradual too.
it's gradual
Very
too.
subtle.
Yes, it's subtle too. But visually is what I'm very much paying attention to the fact that I see this electric guitar. It's shaped different than what Sammy's playing. That's the thing I noticed first. And then the guy that's playing it, his clothes are different from what everybody else is wearing. And I'm like, something different is going on. And I knew I heard that there was a particular scene that people were like, that said was a standout. And I was like, this might be it. So then I'm locked in. And then as, it's this one shot, which I'm not sure if it's literally one shot.
I don't think it is.
But
I don't think it is.
I see the turntables, and then I see, all this other stuff.
And then you see like somebody dancing with a figure,
Yeah.
which I thought that figure would have been something that would have been,
Yeah.
if it showed up again.
Yeah. It was somebody said it looked like it might have been the devil. But I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Like in the background, that was.
It was like in a mask.
A mask, yeah. Somebody said that might have been symbolic for the devil. It's a lot of symbolism there.
There's a lot of symbolism.
There was, folks dressed like it was the 80s or the 90s. It was girls twerking. It was.
Were there? I think I missed that one.
Did you miss that?
I don't know. There was a lot going on.
There was
in that
a lot
scene.
going on. That's a scene where there could be a whole hour-long breakdown of just that one.
New rock stars do a breakdown.
But in terms of the actual meaning behind it, I believe the meaning was the fact that with what Ryan Coogler said in one of his interviews was the fact that Delta Blues, he mentioned that that's like basically the greatest cultural influence, or like has the greatest cultural impact in America, because every other music genre that we have today stems from Delta Blues, like soul music, R&B, hip hop, and then he even mentioned that grunge is like basically blues for white people. So like rock and roll as well, it's like all these different genres and things stem from blues. So I think he was just showing this party, and Sammy tapping into his gift is ultimately something that's going to birth all these other genres to come along afterwards. So I think it's kind of like setting that foundation for like, okay, you hear all this, and then we're going to add this other music to it. We're going to add these layers and layers, because it's all like a surrealist type of thing. And then when it cut to the vampires in the background, they were watching, and from their perspective, it looked like it was burning. Or at least from our perspective, it was like fire.
Yeah. You
And then
almost hit me in the face with that one.
My bad. And then it cuts back to it, and then now they're still outside.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. All right.
You got anything to say? You got anything?
So, I guess about the third act, you get the kind of everybody starts getting got. Like the cleverly trope of black people cannot survive in a horror movie, even if it's created by even if it's created by their own people.
Yeah.
They get one guy was, using the bathroom outside. We were like, no, don't do it. The Asian guy was like, oh, I'm just gonna go to my car. Yep. Haley Steinfeld sits down with the vampires, and they're starting to encircle her.
That's
and it's like,
honestly what kicked everything off.
And then when she there was a scene, and everybody gasped, because it was like she was running away, and
because she had her gun, and then because you think, oh, she was smart for bringing the gun. You're like, she made.
And then she may get away, and then you see,
Yeah.
and it was like it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's over.
It's a wrap.
Curtains for y'all, man.
Then Stacks kind of just he falls for it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Even Preacher Boy got his
Preacher Boy got. Oh yeah, that scene. He was
going in.
Well, yeah. There was something going on, and you got Michael B. just like making his faces. Then the Asian girl was like, "Oh yeah, you go, boy, you go, boy."
Like, yeah, that brother's starving.
Yeah. But yeah, just everything, just kind of from the beginning to the end, the lead up, and even in the last climactic, where it's all going down. Cornbread gets got, what's his name? Sacrifices himself.
Yeah. Delroy. Yeah. Yeah, he was, man. I don't think we talked enough about him. We did mention him a little bit, but Delroy, he's a legend. He brings it every time. Like,
this is definitely different from his other roles too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't think I've seen him used in this kind of way.
I don't think so either. Like, he's been in so many things. Like, he's been in Spike Lee movies. I know, like, something I was thinking about was him in Crooklyn. I don't know if you ever saw that, but that's a movie I was thinking about. Not saying it was similar, but I think just him as like this, almost like this, he almost is like a parental figure in a sense to Sammy. I know he's not, but like I feel like he was kind of like this, like he definitely wanted to protect him.
Everybody wanted to protect him. Really.
Yeah, because I think they know like
he had potential.
He has potential, and he had this gift, and that's the other thing, the other big theme of like the white people wanting to use his gift for things like, oh yeah, we want your talent, we want this stuff, and but it's still I feel like it worked in the sense that even though, yes, they were bad, but also, I think somebody said it's like, do they have a point in the sense of like, because he'd basically be able to, let's say he did join them. We're playing devil's advocate literally, but let's say he did join them, he'd be able to essentially do his music thing and travel forever and have eternal youth. But
at what cost?
At what cost? That's the thing. It's always the cost.
Yeah.
So I think it is interesting that even though they're villains, it's like, they also made it seem appealing in the sense of like they were having fun. They was playing music, and that's the other thing. Yeah. As far as the temptation, it's like
I would have joined. When he was just doing his little jig. I was like, okay, got it. Michael B was even like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He was like,
let's. I think we, talked enough about the movie. Let's segue into the mid credit and the.
Yes.
I don't remember the last credit.
The last credit was.
Let's talk about the mid first.
So it's so funny. You were talking during the mid credit. I'm like, this is important, and. It was. You don't think it was important?
It was important to an extent. Like, yes. Now this is where I feel like he learned from Marvel definitely on on how to actually use a mid credit and post credit.
Yes.
It's not, and I feel like Marvel has done it to where it's just It's to tease the next thing. Is to tease the next thing. But this was like, if you missed this, if you left right after, you missed the real ending of the film.
Yes, this was the true ending of the film.
So I don't know. Some might say, "Oh yeah, it shouldn't have been the mid credit or whatever." But
Yeah.
I think they do it to where they do it right. It's like, dang, I missed that. Well, I gotta go see that again.
Right.
So it's kind of tactical, but
It is. Though people were saying there's two mid credit or there's two post credits. People have been saying that. Now I think some people left after the first mid credit because that it comes up pretty quickly. But some people did leave after, and I was like, no, I don't think you should leave. But you want to get into what happens?
Yeah.
Okay. So, it jumps from 1932 to 60 years later in 1991. Sammy has been a successful.
He left. He kind of went to the church.
Yes.
To kind of deliver himself, and you don't see what happens. He's just holding the end of the guitar.
Yeah.
And
because his dad wants him to, give up this music and,
And then he does it pretty much. He drives off with the guitar.
Yes.
But yeah, keep going.
So that's initially the initial ending. But then when it jumps to 60 years later, you see that Sammy has been this successful musician, playing music. He's a lot older at this point, of course, and he's at the bar or wherever he's been playing, and somebody tells him, "Oh, there's like these visitors," and he tells him to basically lets them come in, and then
who did you think?
Bada boom.
Who did you think it was gonna be?
My brain didn't have enough time to register. I was like, it's somebody from that we've seen earlier in the movie, but I wasn't like, oh yeah, it's definitely.
I low key thought it was the indigenous people, the Indians.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been. Yeah, I'm just not thinking.
We're here to recruit your services.
Yeah, we're gonna.
We're the Men in Black.
Oh, the Men in Black is crazy. I was thinking the Avengers, but
yeah,
that's a little too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course it was Michael B. and
Robert Downey. Doom.
Oh man, and
Doomsday.
It was Killmonger and
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop, yes. It's Killmonger and Kate Bishop.
A lot of Marvel people in here.
Yes, quite a bit. Wonder why.
Anywho.
Anywho, yes, it was Stack and Mary, is it? Yeah,
Mary. Yeah.
Mary, yes. So, and they're looking basically the same age, but they're wearing like more contemporary clothing looking
90s,
like,
80s,
90s, looking like they just came from a rap video.
Kid and Play.
Yeah, they came from off the set of House Party 2.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, it's revealed that Smoke. During the climactic part of the film where he's fighting his brother, he basically spares him, but he makes him promise that he won't harm Sammy. That'll keep him alive, and he makes doing that promise because it's crazy to me that he reveals himself to him for the first time, like all those years later. In my head, I was like, later on, I was thinking, you could have came into his life anywhere in all those years. But the funny thing is, Sammy doesn't even look surprised. He's just like, I feel like, now that I think about it, I feel like he knew in his heart, like, they were probably still around. Because I'm sure he's had, like, even though he's been successful, I feel like he's still been troubled.
Of course, with that scar on his face.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely remembers the trauma from what happened. But it's just that to me that was such a
both his
crazy
cousins died, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah. So that was such a crazy ending, and then he was like, he basically offers him immortality in a sense. It's like, I can basically make you one of one of us, and he's like, because he's pretty much at the end of his life. He's like, hey, I only got like probably less than a decade left, um, if he's lucky. So um, that was such a wild ending, especially because like I don't know, it was just even though it makes sense, but it's like man, you that was not I just was not expecting that.
What was the end credit? I don't remember.
It was him singing. It cuts back to earlier in the period, back to him as a younger, and he was singing. I forget the song, but it was a song.
Gotcha. Also, to kind of go back, because I forgot to mention this.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole plot of the film, you find out the big twist was the person that sold the twins the property was a Ku Klux Klan member,
Yes.
and basically set this up so the vampires and the Ku Klux Klan would show up
Mm-hmm.
at the end of it and kill everybody
Yep.
if anybody else survived.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have like a whole shootout, which was a cool shootout
Yeah.
with Michael B. Jordan, and then of course he gets shot, and of course he's Annie and what happened to their son?
Their child died. I don't know if it was during childbirth, but you know that their child died like young.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's basically like to me that's like even though he's dying, it's like a happier ending for him because it's like he gets to be reunited.
Yeah.
With his family.
Yeah. Yeah. So anywho, that's all we got.
That is all we got. We've been talking for a while.
A while. So if you stayed this long, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please hit that like, subscribe, and share. Let us know what y'all think.
Yes. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on the movie, your favorite part, what you liked, what you didn't like. Hope you liked all of it, but everybody has their opinions and whatnot. And let us know whatever else you're watching and what you want us to review.
All right, man. We'll see you in the next one.
See you at the next video.
All right. Peace.
All right, y'all. Peace.